Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve 2022, and it's been a really, really busy week. Originally, I had planned on releasing my song Two Birds on the 23rd, which is, I guess, the day before Christmas Eve. So I was all planned for that. But I was messing around on this beautiful keyboard that I got, and this happened. Isn't that just Christmas in a box? This is the third wave from a company called Groove Synthesis up in San Francisco. And this is the first synth that they've released. And basically what it is, if you haven't heard of it by now, but I'm sure you have, it's called the third wave because it is like the third wave of the PPG technology, even though they're not associated with PPG. I put on this arpeggio and I just thought, wow, this is Christmas. And I've always been wanting to do a Christmas song around the holidays. So I said, what a better time to do it? I got a couple weeks. So let's put together a Christmas song. And this was in 3/4 time. So I figured, why not do a Christmas waltz? And then all of a sudden, all of these images started coming into my brain, and I just dove into it. Now, since it was a Christmas song, I figured I would include a lot of traditional instruments like violin, viola, glockenspiel, piano, and of course the third wave. So I wanted to do a lot of stuff that I could actually play live. So rather than having it be like a synthwave track, it was more of a Christmassy vibe. So I needed to get a glockenspiel, and I found a guy in Hollywood who was selling 2 of them. And after a Christmas party, I met him probably around midnight or so, and I bought the glockenspiel for this. My initial thought was to use mostly violin, but whenever I started improvising on the viola, I just loved the tone, the contrast between the third wave and the piano line. Really. When I first heard what I laid down, it sounded like a trumpet, like a Miles Davis muted trumpet, and I thought that was so cool because it was actually a viola. So it ended up being viola heavy and with just a little bit of violin at the end. And I guess my song Two Birds kind of took a back seat to this because I didn't do any prep for it. And it's a shame too, because I think that the Two Birds song really has some of the more profound lyrics that I've ever written. And I don't really feel as if I wrote those lyrics because they just kind of came to me. And it was initially about a failed romance, and I don't have a failed romance now. I'm happily married, and my last failed romance was maybe 20, 30 years ago. So that really wasn't on my mind so much, but I figure, you know what, that's what's coming out, so why not write about it? Now, in hindsight, I look at some of the lyrics, and it's amazing how they correspond to different times in my life. Like, for instance, there's a line that says that you build a nest way up above, and something to the effect of that you have no one to share it with. And when I first moved to Los Angeles, believe it or not, after I was finished couch surfing, I ended up moving into a gym. I was working at this gym in Studio City, and they gave me the keys to open and close it. So what I did is I moved into the attic. There was an old attic there, and it was kind of an old, dilapidated building. We were sharing it actually with Olivia Newton-John's management company. And so we had the egg company next door and the gym, and it was right across from Universal Studios. And I'll never forget, one Christmas time, I invited this girl that I was seeing. I mean, I was probably 18 or 19 years old, and I was living in the attic of a gym. I wasn't that embarrassed about it because I was just here surviving, you know? I mean, I was doing whatever I needed to do just to survive. And I invited her in, and I showed her my little nest that I made. And she came up the ladder and was like, "Wow, you're like homeless, or you're squatting in this place or something." And she lived out in Burbank, and she lived up in a nice house and came from a nice family. I never forget, she invited me up there to meet her parents, and her parents were like, they were treating me extra nice. And I in hindsight, I felt that she was, they felt sorry for me that I was living like this. I was so young, but I was out here in Los Angeles, and I was going to make it happen. I was going to be successful in the entertainment business, and so it really didn't bother me very much. So that line, I thought, way up above, you built a fine nest, but with no one to share it, you're lonesome at best. And even though that I was fighting for my life, though, there was some of the more lonesome times that I ever spent, being out in Los Angeles. So that's an insight into Two Birds. And there's some more lyrics in that song that correlate to some of those times about being lonesome and not having the things that you want at the time work out for you. It's like, maybe in another life, maybe in some other world, we'll find solace together. And I think maybe that was my future self speaking to my younger self, and maybe God speaking through me now in the present, having me write this. I know it sounds deep, and I don't know, maybe it is about a failed romance, but I don't think so. I think that there's something else that I just needed to say in that song. So I'm going to link it up here if you want to check it out. It's called Two Birds. I didn't expect to be releasing two songs back to back. Today, which is Saturday, it's Christmas Eve, I just released the Viola Christmas Waltz. Now, the Viola Christmas Waltz is not available on the streaming platforms because I didn't have enough time. So I guess that's about it. I don't want to sit here and talk your ear off, but have a very, very Merry Christmas. I hope everybody is hunkered down and enjoying a fire or some eggnog or their family. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. Happy birthday, Jesus. And I will see you on the next one. All right. Thanks so much. Peace.